Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Excalibur Roundtable Tech Talk. This is one of our extended series, and I'm joined by Will Barrows from CG4. Will, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Mike, good to be here.
Now, you may have seen Will and I goofing around, doing some webinars, talking about the cool stuff that's CG4, and we're going to continue doing that because there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with CG4. And so, one of the things that we have talked a little bit about is maybe bringing forward a use case that's outside of IT. IT folks, tend to understand the use case of CG4 and using asset tags, scannable barcode labels or RFID tags on their IT assets. But we've worked with a number of customers where we're doing this really outside of IT. And one of the things that's come up actually a number of times is some of our customers that have distribution facilities. And most folks, most of you out there watching this are probably familiar with Amazon. Think of an Amazon distribution center. There's all kinds of products there, and the folks have to pick the products and palletize them or ship them or whatever things that they have to do. But there's equipment that they use to do this to make this happen faster. Interestingly enough, so we're sitting here talking about CG4. It happens to usually be scanners of some sort, and they could be barcode and or RFID scanners, but they also may be issued headsets. They may be issued other technology that's going to go on. Now, when you start to think about the Amazon scenario, we're not saying Amazon's a client, at least not yet. But using it as the example, because folks can kind of wrap their head around it, they've got these pieces of equipment, and when you think about the things that you see out there on television, Amazon will ramp up and ramp down staffing when you start to get around holiday. So we're getting ready, to roll into a holiday period, and we may bulk up our staff a little bit. Well, those may be temporary employees. They may be there for a day. They may be there for a week. And so one of the things that a lot of customers have asked for is the ability to check in and check out this hardware. You look at those scanners, and Will, we've talked about this, kind of with the supply chain challenges that are going on now and everything else. The scanners have gotten more expensive. Chips have gotten more expensive. Things have gotten more expensive. So these
And
are even more valuable devices.
yeah, and with the supply chain problems, you can't even get your hands on replacement devices. So if you don't do a good job knowing where your equipment is, you can't even buy new equipment without it being months.
Well, and so this is a perfect example of where CG4's capabilities come into play. We have the ability to check in and check out this equipment to personnel. And so we can check out a piece of equipment and we can check that back in. And we're able to then check our database and see if that equipment's been checked back in. If it wasn't, we know who it was checked out to and who it was checked out by. So we
Right.
have the ability to kind of track that history of that device. And we've seen this with a number of these scenarios that we've talked with customers about and actually done a number of POCs for. One of the things they want the ability to do is literally daily do a check-in, check-out. So that they know where these devices are, because they do have, and it's not really a turnover scenario, it's that they have these additional helpers coming in, and it may not be the same helpers every day. They may have warehouse personnel they're checking something out to for a period of time, but we need to be able to check these things in and check these things out. In addition, one of the scenarios, and we actually did this in one of our POCs together, was the ability to raise an incident directly from the supervisor scanner. If they're checking out a piece of equipment to somebody and go, wait a minute, the screen's cracked. Okay, I'm going to check them out something different, but I want to raise an incident on this other one. And to your point, these devices, you can't get a replacement device. You may be able to get something repaired, but you also know what your backlog may be on repairs, and if you're rolling another device in temporarily. So leveraging this technology is not limited to doing our inventory. And that's the other thing they want to be able to do, right? Inventory
Right.
all of this equipment as well on a fairly, and we've talked with clients, they want to do this on a fairly frequent basis because these are items that can easily be misplaced. left somewhere. They want to be able to know that they're in control of their equipment at all times. And so leveraging the technology we have available with CG4, we're able to do this. Now, whether we take this data and we put it into a CMDB like we did in one of our POCs, we were populating it right into the CMDB and leveraging the power of the ITSM platform to do a bunch of stuff for us, dashboards and alerts and all kinds of crazy things. This can be done in CG4. It could be done to some other object in your IT service management platform. It doesn't necessarily have to be your CMDB. It could be an alternate CMDB because these are assets you want to track. And it was really, really interesting kind of going through that exercise because it really turned my head a little bit because I hadn't really thought, I've got clients like some of our utility clients track their radios, right? Because these are expensive devices that are installed in the trucks or handheld radios. It's not the little FRS radios that you buy at Walmart. These are a radio that can be $400 or $500 because it's got the range and other capabilities. And so I hadn't really extended it. And then as we've gotten into a number of these distribution center scenarios, these are equally expensive assets that are things that are being used and have to have repairs. So they're really almost no different than a laptop. And one of the things you've talked about, Will, in some of these demos is that a cell phone could be used as a scanning device. Your
Right.
regular old iPhone or Android phone could be used as a scanning device with CG4. It doesn't have to be a purpose-built scanner. They're quicker, faster, better, stronger, but it could be done with a cell phone.
The cell phones would come in handy if they've got like a onesie twosie type update that they want to make versus you're scanning 100 or 1,000 assets in a day where you'd want the ruggedized scanners or the integrated scanners.
Right. Well, and you think about these type of environments, you got the ruggedized scanner, but when you start to think about it, well, if we can do it with the cell phone, these devices are as expensive as today's cell phones, if not more in some cases, depending upon its features and functions. And we track mobile devices all the time within our CMDBs. So it really got me thinking, and I'm going, okay. And then you start to think about headsets. I remember buying headsets for my team. Our team is primarily remote. I know a lot of your team kind of is spread out as well. They're not all in one office. And so we've got the work from home technology. We've been doing that, both of us, for years. But the headsets that we're using were $300 pre-pandemic. Now they're $500 post-pandemic because there's a supply and demand issue. Everybody wants these. And so these are more expensive. And I'm going, I kind of want to know where these things are. These aren't, $50 plug into your PC headsets. These are expensive wireless devices that do what we need. And so it started to really get me thinking, wait a minute, there's a lot of things we still may want to track because they're assets. And being able to do that in this distribution center scenario that we're talking about, the check-in, check-out feature functionality, as well as other modules you can build in CG4, could give you the robust capabilities that you're looking for. What are some of the things that you've seen as well, Will?
Well, I was just thinking back to some of the stories that I've heard where, maybe we'll check out a piece of equipment to somebody and then the person that had that couldn't find theirs. And so they grabbed so-and-so's and then they tried to check it in, and they say, wait a minute, this isn't the same one you left this morning with. And so it's just kind of funny, some of the stories that happen initially when people start working to track their assets. And, it can be anything that's important to the business, whether it is an IT asset or whether it's something as part of your operations, like the radio or whatever that keeps your business going. Anything that's important, you can put a barcode or an RFID tag on it and help make your life simpler and save yourself money because you're not wasting time hunting for something that people don't take full responsibility for if they don't think that you're doing a good job tracking what you gave them.
Well, and you think about, as we worked through some of these POCs and talked about scenarios and processes that companies have. Well, at the end of the day, has everything been checked in? No, we're
Right.
missing one scanner. Well, now you know what you're looking for, right?
And you can call up Mike and say, Mike, where's that scanner I gave you this morning?
Right? And if I don't know and we have to do a hard target search, at least we know what we're looking for.
Right.
It's not, well, Mike disappeared and we don't know what equipment he had. We know exactly who had what, when, who checked it out, when they checked it out, and it gives us the ability to do the things that we need to do in order to do it. And one of the things that I know we've talked about with a lot of these customers, and we talk to every customer about, is the modular nature of CG4. Now, that's not modules that you plug in. It's the modules you can build to support the processes that you want to
Right.
follow, like check in, check out, inventory, and such.
Exactly. I mean, any step in your asset life cycle where you would like to make an update to the asset, you can create a little CG4 use case module that does the checkout or the check-in, or maybe you're receiving new assets on the front side of the asset's life, or maybe you're retiring assets on a pallet as they go out at the end of the life. And any step in between that would be useful to you as the management to be able to know where your assets are, who has them, what their status is, you can easily do within these CG4 use case modules. It only takes a couple of minutes to configure them, and you're able to push it out to the users and say, hey, try this, and get some immediate feedback so you can make any modifications that they suggest.
Yeah, and that's the power of CG4, right? It's the power and flexibility to support your processes. And and then even with, as we've done in these POCs, integration to an IT service management platform to do additional process things that really wouldn't necessarily be things that CG4 would do. And so lots of flexibility, lots of capabilities, cool use cases, as we're seeing over and over and over again, things that are unique, that are not limited to just IT. Will, thank you for joining me today, and helping me kind of share this unique use case with everybody out there.
Well, it's my pleasure, Mike, and I appreciate your time.
Well, we look forward to, for those of you that are taking a look at this, don't hesitate to reach out to the team here at Excalibur. We'd love to get you in touch with Will and the team at CG4 and show you just the power that we can bring to your organization when it comes to your asset tracking. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you again soon.